Okay, so for some backstory, about 3 or 4 days ago, I saw a dog man. It happened when I was locking my chickens up outside. Now mind you, I am a decent woodsman that has about 12-ish guns in my house. I'm not easily creeped out either, but this thing made the back of my hair stand up on end. I noticed it when I was relieving myself off my back porch and happened to catch its eyes in the cross of the flashlight I had with me. When it noticed that I was looking at it, it stood on its hind legs and was in between a baseball bat and a barbed wire fence in height, but the terrain around my house has a lot of big rocks and steep woodland behind and all sides of my house. So you can guess that when I saw it, it made my blood run cold. Then after what felt like eternity, but in reality must have been about 20 to 30 seconds of this thing staring at me, it ran off. I have not seen this thing for a while now. Hopefully it's friendly. If not, then I guess me and my family will have to scare it away. Edit. I told my brother what I saw a day ago, and he said that he had seen something like that when he went to relieve himself off the back porch too, but said that it ran off immediately after he saw it. We'll keep you guys updated on the next sighting if there is a next sighting. Next sighting. I just saw Dogman about 2 hours ago. Okay, so I was locking the chickens up with one of my brothers when I heard a howl yelling sound coming from the right of the house in my neighbor's field, which has an old barn in it. But when we looked over at the barn, which is about 2 to 3 city blocks from the chicken coop, we heard another howl to the left of us, which, mind you, is a slightly forested area for about 30 to 40-ish meters from the fence line, but soon becomes a forest that drops off into a ravine of sorts. So we instinctively looked towards where we heard the second howl and saw about a 6 foot tall with red eyes standing behind a tree that's about 10 meters from the fence. We then try to move towards the house when we hear a howl from behind us, and a bit closer too. When we turned around, we had seen the one that was at or around the neighbor's barn stuck on the barbed wire fence. We then take what little time we had and booked it back inside, which was only about a 2 to 3 second run towards the back door, which we left open so the dogs could go outside. When we got in the house, we locked every door and told my stepdad, and had told him what had happened. He told us to get our guns from our bedrooms. Me and my 2 stepbrothers sleep in the same room. While we're getting our guns, he told our mom to call our oldest brother and told him to stay the night at a friend's house. When we got into the living room, dining area, he had already woken up our 2 youngest brothers, 5 of us to be exact, and had put them in the master bathroom, with our mom, who had a shotgun rifle hybrid. When we were loading the guns, we heard what we thought was someone knocking on our door. My younger stepbrother, he's younger by a month, went to go and open it to see if anyone was out there. I grabbed him and told him not to open any of the 3 doors of our house because it might be one of the dog men that we had seen while we were outside. At this point, we don't know how many of them were out there. It could be just the 2 that I had seen, or it could be 20. I'm sitting on the couch with a bolt-action R700 hunting rifle in one hand and a car-bar knife on my side. I think these types of dogman are mostly nocturnal because I have only seen them at night or around dusk. Let's just hope that they aren't hungry for a teenager because they're gonna have to fight for it, and I don't play fair. When I, female 33, was a kid, I lived in a pretty creepy neighborhood in the sense that we were surrounded by either cemeteries or a pretty creepy mountain. It was also a pretty bad area back then. There was some legit gang activity and even a few murders. Although I was mostly unaware of this because my parents tried to shield me and my siblings from this. I remember some pretty weird paranormal ghostly experiences as a kid. I think everyone in the neighborhood had a story or two. My creepy experience, however, was very much with someone living. The kids in my block all played together out on the streets. It was safe enough to do that, Everyone lived in one of the many small apartment buildings that line the street. We would weave in and out of whoever's garage we were playing that day. In mine, someone had a car they were fixing. It was always unlocked, probably because it had no engine or tires. The kids would always get in it and pretend they were driving. The day I, 11-ish, was playing with some fairly new neighborhood kids. None went to our school, so we'd only see them when we came home. I became pretty good friends with the brother who was a year older. I didn't meet his siblings until much later, 2 younger sisters. One I remember was in kindergarten because she kept talking about it. The elder was maybe a year or 2 younger than me. I was with the middle sister that day. Everyone had gone to get ice cream. I was waiting for my mom to go somewhere, so I didn't go. My 2 little brothers had been with us, but left to go use the bathroom. We had been playing in the car that we were on a road trip to Tahoe or something. She was driving when she suddenly turned around and just stared at me for what felt like forever. I asked what was wrong. She suddenly said very quietly, "You bitch," and then proceeded to climb over to my side and start to strangle me. Her grip was so strong, and I remember thinking for a second that she was going to kill me. She let go when we suddenly heard my mom calling my name. When she let go, she started giggling like we had just been playing some game and said, "Okay, bye then, see you later," and then left. My mom saw the marks on my neck and was furious. She never let us play with those kids again. I actually blocked this event out of my memories. It all came back when I was looking back at old pictures and saw them in one. I wondered out loud what happened to them, and my mom looked at me funny. My brother reminded me why we never saw them again, and the memory of that moment just rushed back. This happened a few months back. I was at the local grocery store, getting ready to exit with my purchases. There was a pedestrian, a woman, crossing the storefront to get to the parking lot. A vehicle stopped for her to allow her to cross. As she was about to cross, I saw the approaching driver, a guy in his 20s, stop and look at her intently, and then sped up and drove past her and missed her by 1/10 of an inch. He suddenly stopped. The woman was just standing there completely dazed. The guy didn't come out of the car, and I noticed he was slowly backing up as the woman stood there. I put my purchases back in the car and went to the edge of the curb to get a good look at him and said, "What the hell do you think you're doing? You almost fucking ran over her." He didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, and just drove away. I looked around and looked back in the store to see if I could see the woman, but she was already gone. So, I'm around 8 or 9 when the story happened. Unfortunately, this man still lives near us. It had to be around winter time, and I was with my little cousin. So one day my cousin and I had to walk her at the time dog. We know we live in a bad part of New York, but we didn't expect this. So as we were outside walking around her apartment building, and some random old ass dude from across the street asked us why our dog didn't have a little jacket. We said we left it upstairs and tried to leave it at that. Then he said he had a dog we should go see up in his apartment, later changing the story to the pet store up the block, which I knew was closed for not being clean. He looks very stern after a while, and then we said, "We're okay, it's fine." And he started to cross over to us and walk a lot faster. I told my cousin to run because he was ready to grab us. Then I had to look back at my cousin since she runs slow, and I went to grab her. It's been a few years, I'm 14 now, but he hasn't moved from next to us, and I'm kind of scared when she leaves the house when I'm not here. Something to note in this story, the school we went to had 2 playgrounds. Me and my older sister used to walk everywhere because our mom wasn't around much since she was always working. We lived a 2-minute walk away from our old elementary school, and a lot of the kids in the neighborhood would go there after school hours, so we found ourselves there after school most days of the week. Since up the road was a cluster of fast food restaurants, we decided to go grab dinner for the local Burger King, and afterwards, we didn't feel like going home, so we walked to the elementary school. It was around 7 p.m., so we knew nobody would be there. Me and her sat on the top of the slide and just talked, and it got dark pretty quickly. We thought it would be fun to play hide and seek because we knew it would be hard to find each other in the dark, and with 2 playgrounds to hide around. We played a few rounds and it was my turn to count. I counted on the concrete with my ears covered to make it harder to find her. Once I was done counting, I went right to the first playground, and I heard a loud slam coming from the building's back door. I look over and see someone opening and slamming the dumpster, and me and my paranoid self, I hid and kept watching him. I had no idea where my sister was, but was more worried about the man. After looking in the dumpster, he just stops and stands there and begins talking to himself. Since we were at a distance, I look around the area for my sister. I whisper her name, but no response. The man keeps saying random things to himself, but I couldn't hear anything. After a few more minutes sitting still in fear, I heard my sister say my name, and I turn my head and see her standing by the other playground. I book it towards her, and she whispers at me to run. We both run to where there is more light, and she tells me to stop and to walk and act like it's normal so the other person doesn't think we're trying to get away from him. After we walk to the parking lot, we see a security car and we sigh in relief and laugh thinking it was just a security guard. We continue walking to the entrance gate and the car leaves. Once we begin walking on the main road to get home, keep in mind this is a main road and there are cars constantly driving. I get a strange feeling and look behind me. My heart drops to my stomach. As I see someone following behind us coming from the school, I immediately whisper to my sister, and she looks back, and I could see the fear in her face. The man wasn't thin, so we knew we could outrun him if we really needed to. Although we were close to home, my mom was working, and we didn't want the man knowing where we lived. Me and my sister started to speed walk, and I looked behind me again, and the man started walking faster. We both started bolting, and we turned into the driveway and hid behind a few trees. Luckily, we had a long driveway surrounded by woods, and it was dark, so we continued looking at the road for the man, and after a few minutes, we didn't see him anywhere. I'm not sure what would have happened if he caught up to us, but I don't ever want to find out.